You mentioned transgressive, like, I mean, how does that work? I mean, as an outsider, like, can you explain how, you started that and what the intentions were of it to start with?
Yeah, I mean, so at one of those club nights that I was doing with Gordon, which was called the Basement Club, which year was it? I want to say it was September 2003. Yes, September 2003. I think that might have been the first time we put Bloc Party on. And I'd heard about them because super randomly, my dad, who, loves music but wasn't involved in the industry and just was very supportive of what I was up to, he was reading one of the NMEs that I just lay open. And he came up with this mad idea, which in retrospect was utter genius. He said, where the live adverts are, where people are looking for musicians and other people to join their bands, what happens if you just read one of those descriptions to see if one of these bands could become something interesting? And I was like, yeah, Dad, whatever. I was just there typing away like a reviewer or whatever. And anyway, he decided to take it upon himself. He saw this one advert where someone said their influences were Joy Division, Gang of Four, and The Cure, and they were looking for a drummer. And it said, contact Kelly at this number. And so my dad contacted Kelly, not as a drummer, but just purely on blind speculation that this band might become something. Anyway, that band was called The Angel Range, and they invited us to their first ever gig when they found a drummer. So my dad and I went, and it was Bloc Party before they found Matt to play drums. And we went to the show at the Verge, which is in Kentish Town, and the person promoting that show was Tim. And Tim is basically the guy that a year later I'd really meet at a club night where I was putting on Bloc Party, and Kelly would introduce us properly from the band, so you guys should know each other. And Tim was basically selling their 7-inch, their debut single, She's Hearing Voices, and I was putting on their show. And that was a meeting of minds. And then within 3 weeks, Tim and I met up again, and we decided to start a record label. And yeah, that label is Transgressive. And so yeah, really the whole scene that we're talking about was like this incredible propeller for, lots of projects and meeting of minds. And as soon as I met Tim, I just felt we were, firstly, we were just like making each other laugh a lot, trying to offend each other more than the other person was. And then the other thing was we were talking about quite obscure records, and realizing at the age of 19, which we were at the time, that a lot of our friends didn't necessarily know these records. And I think that was a real meeting ground of like minds, so it made us feel excited to try and do something together. And yeah, as of last month, it's been 18 years since Transgressive's been existing. So yeah, it's been pretty wild.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then in terms of deciding, or staying on like the cutting edge type of things with the music, obviously, like you say, that idea from your dad is genius. Like, you get in the band before they're even fully formed. So I mean, was that an approach you carried on taking?
You know what, like I haven't actually, and the reason for that is that my dad, I think he was retired at that point, so he's a bit of an older guy, so he had the time and the bandwidth to like just do that research, and it paid off in that instance. And just in terms of like, when I say paid off, it's not like we ended up professionally linked to the band in a financial way. We did a couple of singles and shows, but that was it. But more just paid off in terms of that time, and that curiosity was paid off with a brilliant band, and us being lucky to see them at the beginning all the way through. And you're right, I think as a philosophy, that's probably a good way to do it. But it does require time, checking in on people and seeing if they did get the drummer, what happened to the last drummer they fired, seeing them at the Hope and Anchor again, and that stuff's cool. But like, obviously, our loyalties also have to be to the artists that we've signed and got on the roster, and so unfortunately that time and commitment isn't quite there. But I would recommend it as a strategy. I think it's a bold move, and it might be a needle in a haystack sometimes, but it was definitely a nice way of doing it.
Yeah.